Hi, it's Carrie from Classic Cottage Art and Antiques in Bowling Green, Virginia. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Creating a Classic Cottage. Today I'm going to make a kitchen island from an old, worn-out dresser. So come on, see how easy it is, and let's get started. So one of my next projects is this dresser. It's got this interesting little part on here that's going to be coming off. We're going to make this into a island for our kitchen. These two drawers are going to stay out because they've been damaged, and we're going to put the drawers back into the bottom, but we're also going to put a butcher block on the top. This dresser had approximately 4 layers of paint, which had been stripped down, as you can see, and it's really actually kind of pretty wood. So we are going to not worry about the top so much, but we're going to sand down the rest of where the stripper, we use citrus strip, and we're going to sand down what that didn't get. We're going to clean it really, really well with white lightning cleaner, and then I'll show you how it looks at the end. Now this can be used for something else, I don't know what, but it was tacked on, and it has a gazillion layers of paint on it. So we'll sand that down and it'll look much better as an island, as part of the island in my kitchen. Sorry again about the sanding noise outside. So I could take the little plug off, but I wanted to make sure, the reason I did that was to make sure that it wasn't screwed in, and it wasn't, it was actually nailed in. So what I can do now is take the hammer, sorry about the noise, and just pop it off like that. And you can see how it leaves it a much, I mean, there's the design from where the paint was on it, but it leaves a much smoother, more contemporary looking versus this little, I call it curlicue stuff. And of course I'll save this because well, it's wood, and I never know when I might need a piece of wood this size, or I'm actually going to take the nail out though before it hurts somebody. So I've decided to remove this log cabin looking board and just put a straight board across it rather than nailed, but I'm going to just hammer it off just like I did I call the gingerbread at the top. Let's see what happens. Yep, just nailed on. So put on the other, same thing. There's that nail. Make sure if you're doing this, you get the nails up so you don't step on them. Just that easy. And again, I'm going to save this wood because you know how I am. But now all I need to do is cut a piece of board to fit from here to here in the right width. And then it'll be a lot more cleaner lines than this curvy log cabin-y looking thing. Also, now I don't have to sand or strip this for this project. So I'll show you the next step when it's done. So the next step is simply to just sand everything down, get a lot of the paint off, and make sure it's smooth all over and ready for painting. So here's the case of our dresser that we're going to turn into a kitchen island. We remove the back. Get around here, show you. We remove the back so we can replace it with this 1/2-inch plywood, and we're making it thick like this so we can attach supports for the butcher block top. We also need to replace, if If you look on this side, we have this little runner here. We're missing one over here, so we're going to replace that. We also need a centerpiece for this second level here. And we're going to put some stops back here because there's going to be baskets here instead of drawers. One more thing we need to do is we need to put one of these little glide things on the second drawer with some scrap lumber. We removed the portion of the dresser that was here. It had a lot of scallopy looking things on it we didn't like. So we're going to replace this with our own molding made out of just probably a 1x4. We're going to go all the way around to give it a more modern look. It will also cover up this little curve here, so we don't have any of the curvy lines. We want to make it a nice streamlined modern look. So once we get all that done, I'll come back and show you what's next. So when I choose a piece of plywood to go on the back of my dresser where it's going to show toward the front of my kitchen island, I like to pick a piece that has as few blemishes as possible. This piece we lucked out. It turned out to be a really pretty piece. The marks are just from where we had it in the truck, and it'll sand right off. But this piece actually is nice. This piece is actually pretty nice on both sides. It does have some problems here, which we'll just cut off, and a little bit of a knot here. Overall, this piece is really, really nice. So that would be my tip on how to choose a piece of plywood for the back side of your dresser, which is really going to be the side that people see of the island. So now we've cut the back for our kitchen island, just plywood. You can see how it fits on there nicely. Precise cuts. We made it flush with the top here and a little bit shorter than the bottom. We don't want it to drag the floor if the wood should expand. So it gives us a little bit of wiggle room there. So this island is going to have two drawers, one here, that goes all the way across. And we've added a support here that was missing, one here that was missing. And the top drawers were not salvageable. So I chose a basket for each side. This is just one that's going to fit in there pretty good, but it kind of tips backwards. So what we've done to fix that problem is we've cut a little piece of thin plywood that fits right in the gap there, right between these. And we could have taken that out and done it all, but this was just a little bit of an easier fix. So now the basket fits in here without tipping so far back. This will be sanded. The holes will be filled here. Our next step was there were gaps here and here. To accommodate that, I had some of this little thin plywood again that I applied here. I just took a screwdriver and a hammer and hammered that toward the front so that it would not have a gap showing where the baskets didn't cover. So now to keep that from sliding back again, I'm just going to take these little shims and hammer them in all the way across. There's 4 of these. There's other ways to do this kind of thing, but that's how I'm doing it. The next step is to enclose this area here with a piece of plywood. That'll keep the dust and stuff from building up. A piece of plywood that effectively will put a support block here, one here, and then it'll give the back something else to nail onto. So that's our next step. We'll cut these to fit, we'll nail them in, and I will probably won't need these shims now as I think about it. So they'll be flush with this, and it'll be a nice enclosed area for the baskets. Okay, so we have glued blocks. These were just 2x4s that I had cut down from another project. We've glued those in. Had to clamp that one. We've glued it all the way to the edge there, all the way to the edge there, more or less. And it'll give us something else to nail into. Once the glue has set up, we'll probably put a few nails right in here on the front and on the back. So now our little box is there to put our baskets in. Let's show you from the front side. So now there's no opening there, and we can put our basket in right there. And once it's painted, it'll all go together. But you see now there's no gap there for the basket to get lost in. Okay, so now we have attached a stop for the basket, so the basket won't go all the way to the back. We could have put another partition there, but if I ever found a larger basket, then I can just take this part out and have room for a larger basket. But now you can see that the basket fits very nicely. It's a little bit narrow, but that's okay. It gives me room to get my hands in here to pull it out. Now what we're doing is we're cutting the angles so that we can miter our trim at the bottom, our 1x4s, which are actually in this case fence posts that we had on hand. We're going to paint this anyway, so it's not going to make much difference. He is taking measurements and making miter cuts so it looks a lot cleaner. We also remember to mark which side is which with our cuts, so we make sure we put them in the right spots. So here it is in place. We've still got some more construction to do on. This is going to be the back. And we chose to get this do-it-yourself butcher block. This came from Lowe's. Very inexpensive way to make an island. And they have it in different lengths. This is the 48-inch length. I'll show you. So that's the 48-inch length. This will be the overhang. It's not a big overhang, but it's all we need in our little kitchen. And this will be this side. And the baskets will go here. And of course, we'll make it even all the way around. We'll put a support, and I'll show you that part when we get to it. So as usual on these builds, we kind of figure it out as we go along. And so we've decided to remove this top. So my husband's taken off the top of this. Basically, there are some flathead screws under here, which is good that we took the back off, so now we can access them. But another cool thing is I'm going to save this top for another project, because you know me, I like to build things, and you never know what this top is going to be next. But we wanted to take the height, we wanted to take this down a little bit, also eliminate this weird little lip right here that it's causing, and be able to put our back flush up to the top of the butcher block. So you can get a better idea of what we've done here. We've attached these little blocks to hold this little spacer up so that the basket that I put in here doesn't go flying inside of there. So there we go. Okay, so we're putting the back on, and we decided to space it off the floor a little bit. So we've got a piece of plywood and a popsicle stick, because that just happens to be the exact right height. It's sitting a little crooked right now, but when we nail it, it'll be perfect. So we wanted it flush with this. Oops, we wanted it flush on the side here, and we wanted it a little bit off the floor to allow for expansion. Because you know, wood expands and contracts with temperature changes and moisture changes. So we wanted a little bit off the floor for that reason. So here he is using the pneumatic nail gun to attach the back in several places. And then he's going to do the same thing with the trim around the bottom. He's going to line up all the edges and make sure that it is perfectly aligned. And here's the build. It's all built, and now all I have to do is paint it and stain the butcher block top. So here you can see I have actually filled in the holes on the drawers from the previous pulls. They weren't something that I really wanted on this project, so I had some other drawer pulls and I decided to use those. However, they were different width than the original pulls, so I had to fill in the holes with Dixie mud. So I filled in the holes with Dixie mud and then I sanded them down nice and smooth. Next, I put a coat of white Boss, Dixie Belle Boss, over the entire project. Here you can see that I've stained the butcher block top. I used a Minwax product that I had on hand because it was a color that went with the other things in my kitchen. So basically I just stained it and let it dry. Here's the finished product before I added the new drawer pulls. And here it is with the drawer pulls. You can see I also painted along the side. This is not Dixie Belle paint. This is actually a latex paint that I don't normally paint furniture with, but it was a color that I had used on the walls in my kitchen, so it matched perfectly, and I had some left over. So use what you have on hand. Also, you can see where we've added the trim around the bottom. It looks really nice, kind of a farmhouse look now. And we just need to add the supports underneath the butcher block. Here it is with the drawer pulls that I had on hand and the baskets, and this is where I have sealed the butcher block top after it had dried for about 3 weeks with Dixie Belle hemp seed oil. It's a great product. It dries in about 2 days on this Minwax stained top, and it's water resistant once it has cured. So this was a really fun build, and now I have a useful island for my kitchen. So once again, here's the before and another shot of the before and the after. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.